Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers report, the Niners just signed a quarterback who they're very familiar with. Also, will San Francisco trade for a running back given all of the injuries at that position? It's all coming your way, but I do want to start here. I'm talking to you. Yeah, all of you watching this show. Do you love the Niners? Do you want Niner shows coming your way every single day here on YouTube? If the answer to that question is yes, hit that subscribe button. Lock us in. Join the movement. And let's go. All right, let's do it. My name is Chase Sr. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers report. So much to get to, and I'm glad that all of the faithfuls hanging out here on the show. Last night, right here on the channel, we talked about how the Niners worked out a quarterback and worked out a couple of wide receivers. And so we approached that video in this manner. Are the Niners about to sign a quarterback and or a wide receiver? We always like to be ahead of the curve here on the show. And we were right once again. We were on it here on the Niners Report because San Francisco worked out these players on Monday. Quarterback Nate Sudfeld, wide receiver Jalen Guyton, wide receiver Colton Dowell, and wide receiver J.J. Jones. In training camp, Kyle Shanahan always prefers to have 4 quarterbacks so that he can distribute the necessary reps to the quarterbacks, but also get in some reps with this entire offense as a whole. And so the Niners here bringing in Nate Sudfeld to add to the quarterback room with Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, and Carter Bradley. And if the name sounds familiar, Nate Sudfeld, it is a familiar name because he has been with this team before. Matt Barrows of The Athletic breaking the news here just moments ago on this Tuesday, August 19th, that per source, the Niners will be signing Sudfeld, who had a tryout with them on Monday, 31 years old, spent the 2021 season in San Francisco, and he knows the offense. And that's what's interesting about this, right? Sudfeld knows the scheme, knows the system, has played under Kyle Shanahan before, and he's going to be able to come in, get quickly acclimated with what the Niners want to do and accomplish on the offensive side of the ball. And maybe he gets some run in this preseason finale against the Los Angeles Chargers as Jim Harbaugh and Trey Lance come back to the San Francisco Bay Area, and maybe he competes with Carter Bradley to be the third-string quarterback. After Bradley's performance against the Broncos in the preseason opener, I had talked here on the show about whether or not the Niners need to go externally to find a QB3 because Bradley was bad against Denver, but to his credit, I thought he improved and he was much better against the Las Vegas Raiders. But throughout training camp, throughout the summer, it's always a competition pretty much at every single position for the most part on the football field. More on Sudfeld. He played his college football at Indiana, same school as Curtis Rourke, who the Niners drafted in the 7th round, but he's going to have a redshirt year because he played all of last year with that torn ACL. Sudfeld, a 2016 6th-round pick. He was with the Philadelphia Eagles from 2017 through 2020. They've done a really good job of developing quarterbacks, and at that time, they really liked Sudfeld's game. Good size, 6'6", 230, a pretty strong arm. He's not mobile, more of a statue in the pocket. But with the Niners, he did some nice things. His highlight in preseason, throwing a deep touchdown pass to Ray McCloud, taking the top off of the defense. He was with San Francisco in 2021, then with the Lions in 2022 and 2023. Some of you might have this question. Chase, why was he only with the Niners in 2021? They've had some needs at QB2, QB3. Well, how about this development right at the time? Brock Purdy, after being selected with the final pick in the 2022 draft as Mr. Irrelevant, played very well and impressed a lot of people in the spring, in training camp, in the preseason. The Niners gave him time. He made the most out of those reps. He played so well that he made the 53-man roster because the Niners couldn't waive him or release him because he was not going through waivers because he plays quarterback and he played so well. And so the corresponding roster move to make room for Brock Purdy behind Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo was for Brock Purdy, and what the Niners did was release Nate Sudfeld, who then went to the Detroit Lions. Fascinating stuff there because things are coming full circle. Brock Purdy now, 7th highest paid quarterback in the NFL, making $55 million per year. He's been a top 10 QB since coming into the league in 2022. He beats out Nate Sudfeld, and now Sudfeld is back in that Niners quarterback room. Topic number 2. Are the 49ers going to trade for a running back? They have had countless injuries at the running back position all throughout training camp, and it's great that Christian McCaffrey has looked throughout camp like he looked in 2023 when he was top 5 in MVP voting and won Offensive Player of the Year. But because of the injuries that he suffered last year, bilateral Achilles tendonitis, then had that knee injury, and because he's an older back with some tread on the tires, you have to manage his workload. And there's no need to play him throughout the preseason because once week 1 comes around, he's going to be Christian McCaffrey, one of the most dynamic weapons in all of football, only if he can stay healthy. And so elsewhere outside of Christian McCaffrey, these Niners running backs have been dropping like flies. Jordan James, 5th-round pick out of Oregon, got finger surgery, out for a few weeks. Isaac Guerendo, hurt again, this time a shoulder, out for a few weeks. Patrick Taylor against the Raiders on Saturday, dislocated shoulder, out for a few weeks. Corey Kiner, I think that he's an NFL caliber back, and that long run showed you that against the Raiders, but on that play, high ankle sprain, out for a few weeks, and they placed Ameer Abdullah on injured reserve after he got hurt in week 1 of the preseason against the Denver Broncos. And so Niners could have a need at that running back position. Right now they have Keyshawn Vaughn and Jeff Wilson, who's back in the mix with the Niners. They traded him away after they acquired Christian McCaffrey in 2022. Wilson was with this team from 2018 through 2022 as a UDFA out of North Texas. But Vaughn, Wilson, not talented to the level of Brian Robinson, nor do they have the potential of Brian Robinson. And Robinson of the Commanders is the younger back. And so he becomes a very interesting name, does Brian Robinson of the Commanders, because according to reports, the Commanders are scanning the NFL, looking for trade partners for B-Rob. And on that Monday Night Football game between the Commanders and the Bengals, Robinson and the Commanders mutually agreed for him to not play because they don't want him to get hurt and they want to find a trade partner. Robinson played his college football at Alabama. He had to wait in the wings for a long time before he became the go-to tailback for the Crimson Tide. 6'2", 225 with 4.3 speed. When you look at him, you say, wow, physical unit. He has great feet, a lot of power to his game. He's durable. He can carry a workload. Here's the issue with Brian Robinson, on top of him not fitting Cliff Kingsbury's scheme. He's very indecisive. And Robinson is especially indecisive and hesitant when he has to run in between the tackles. He always tries to bounce things to the outside, and sometimes he doesn't use that 6'2", 225-pound frame to his advantage to pick up those tough and muddy yards. Sometimes he plays to finesse. But man, Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner, with the offensive scheme that Shanahan runs and the coaching of Bobby Turner, have done such a great job of developing and maximizing running backs. If you part ways with a mid to late round pick, when the Niners have a lot of mid to late round picks in 2026 for Brian Robinson, and he gives you a durable, reliable RB2, this is a trade that I would think about exploring. You look at his numbers his first 3 years. He was taken in the 3rd round by the Commanders in 2022, escaped a gunshot wound where he nearly got killed to come back, and he's had a pretty solid career up until this point. He's left some meat on the bone, and sometimes he doesn't always pass the eye test with the physical stature that he possesses, but the production hasn't been bad. 205 carries, 797 yards, and 2 touchdowns rushing in 2022. And then in 2023, 178 carries, 733 rushing yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns. And then last year, 187 carries for 799 yards and 8 touchdowns, a career high. As you can see, 12 games played, 15 games played, 14 games played. For the most part, he's been able to stay on the field. Another issue with Robinson, on top of him sometimes not using that power and harnessing it to take advantage of it as a back, he doesn't really fit Cliff Kingsbury's offense. Kingsbury comes from the Mike Leach school of air raid offense. 4 wide receiver sets, a lot of verticals. Now he has changed that, and he's made some adaptations and adjustments to it from when he was the head coach with the Arizona Cardinals, and Kyler Murray and him would start seasons fast and then fizzle out. And they have added some pro concepts and some running elements to the offense to make it more modern day. But Brian Robinson, it's become clear, really just isn't a scheme fit for what Kingsbury wants to do offensively and the backs who are on that roster. And so you can take Robinson pretty much off that Commanders team. Austin Eckler is a veteran there. You can rely on Jeremy McNichols. They really like Bill Crosby Merritt. He popped off in the preseason game last night. You have Rodriguez, and so it looks as though Robinson going to get traded. Could he be traded to San Francisco? Again, what's notable here is that it looks as though the two sides are heading for a divorce, and they're mutually agreeing on that. Robinson knows he's not in the Commanders' plans. He doesn't really fit the offense. Kingsbury likes the other backs better, and so with him going into the final year of his deal, an opportunity to prove himself elsewhere. What say you? This is today's poll question. Do the Niners need to trade for a running back? Type T for trade, P for pass. Let me know down in the comment section right now. Who wants a Nick Martin film review? Third-round pick linebacker by the Niners out of Oklahoma State. His playing style, as far as the aggressiveness and the speed, will remind you of Dre Greenlaw and Azeez Al-Shire with the reckless abandon in which he plays with. If you want that film review, I'm about to do that on the other side. So don't you dare go anywhere. I told you, we do it all right here on the 49ers Report. First, though, I want to give a shout-out to our sponsor, Chubbies. And every time I have worn my Chubbies polos here on the show, like this one or the one that we're about to show you, I get so many comments. Chase, where did you get that polo? I need to cop. Here's your answer. chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. They also have swim trunks that are also Niner themed. And I know that summer is winding down, but it is never too late to add to your wardrobe. And if you're going to do that, do it with Chubbies. The line swim collection from Chubbies is great. Whether you're poolside, lakeside, or oceanside on that long-awaited vacation, these trunks are ready to travel. Life is too short for uncomfortable swim trunks, so these are set up for all-day comfort, quick-dry technology, and stretch fabric, a built-in liner that actually does its job. And if you want to pair that with a Chubbies Performance polo or this Niners polo, you can certainly do that as well. Now, if you use our link and you use our code ChatSports, you're going to get $10 off your purchase. Right now, that deal doesn't apply for the NFL collection, but we will have some information on that next week. In the meantime, if you want a Chubbies Performance polo, original stretch shorts, if you want a swimsuit from Chubbies, take advantage of this deal. $10 off your order using the code ChatSports at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. That's code ChatSports using that link down below. Support our show and let them know that we sent you. All right, we move forward on today's show. I'm excited to dive into this. I thought from the first preseason game to the second preseason game, the player who improved the most, third-round pick linebacker out of Oklahoma State, Nick Martin. He was really good against the Las Vegas Raiders on Saturday, and obviously he missed a couple of plays, but not as many plays as he did against Denver when he left a lot of meat on the bone, and he made the necessary adjustments that he needed to make in order to finish, and he really popped on the tape. Nick Martin plays at a blazing fast speed. When I say that he carries himself in between the lines mentally, physically, speed-wise, like Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shire, and Fred Warner, Nick Martin plays with no fear. I really mean it. He is a shot-out-of-a-cannon style of linebacker who has awesome sideline-to-sideline speed, and then he can get up and down the field in a blink. In 2023, before he injured his knee last year, which cut his season short at Oklahoma State, he had one of the best seasons that you can imagine for a linebacker. And this really put him on a lot of draft radars, including San Francisco's. 140 tackles, 16 TFLs, 6 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 pass breakups, and 2 picks. That production right there tells a story. He is a tackling machine. He has great range. He makes a lot of plays in the backfield. That is feel, that is instincts, that is diagnosing skills. He has 6 sacks, so he can be used as a blitzer. The forced fumble, the pass breakups, the interceptions, that's being a disruptive playmaker. But here's the issue with Nick Martin. His aggressiveness and his tenacity is part of what makes him who he is. It is a huge strength. Sometimes, though, and as we saw against the Denver Broncos, it can be his biggest pitfall and his biggest weakness because it causes him to over-pursue. It causes him to struggle with throttling down. It causes him to run by ball carriers and miss tackles. But on Saturday against the Raiders, he made some really nice adjustments. Let's go to our film study here. And this was a play that I loved from Nick Martin and Robert Saleh, because Robert Saleh dialed up a little bit of a delayed blitz here for Martin, who you can see here is at that middle linebacker position. That's the sideline view. You take it to the end zone view, and you see where Martin is situated, just inside the hash. Couple of things that I really like with this play. Aiden O'Connell is going to take the snap. And prior to him snapping the football, Nick Martin was kind of creeping up, and then he crept back. And then after O'Connell took the snap, there was a little bit of a delayed blitz from Nick Martin. He timed it perfectly. And he comes through on a little bit of a twist as the Niners run some twist stunts up front. And you see the closing speed. And this time, he doesn't run past Aiden O'Connell or the ball carrier. He takes him down for a sack. Another play that I really liked showed off the range for Martin from sideline to sideline. The first play, good timing on the blitz. That's that vertical speed. He throttled down, he finished, and sacked Aiden O'Connell. On this play, what the Raiders are going to do, as we take a look from the end zone view now, is run a little play action for O'Connell. He's going to fake the handoff. Then he's going to roll to his right. And you'll see that Nick Martin goes from that inside middle linebacking spot, immediately sniffs out what the Raiders and Aiden O'Connell are trying to do. This is Martin right here. This is the intended and eventual target here in the flat. And not only do you see the sideline to sideline speed for Martin to range from the logo toward the boundary, you see some of the closing speed as he's able to finish this play, lay a huge hit, and put the lick on the ball carrier. You could hear the thump during the broadcast from Nick Martin here with that play. And then a little bit later in the game, he did get beat on this seam ball. And while he did get beat, what did he do? He recovered, and with some late hands, he was able to dislodge this football. And this is an impressive play because, again, he gets beat, he recovers a little bit. You see the tight end firmly has that ball in his grasp. But Nick Martin, with late hands, as the tight end goes to corral that football and bring it close to his body, punches the football out, rips it out, and forces the incompletion. So in totality there, that's Nick Martin being used as a blitzer. Good creative play call from Robert Saleh to put your player in a position to succeed and tap into his strengths. Again, Nick Martin had a lot of sacks while at Oklahoma State. It's the range to get to the sideline, the diagnosing skills, knowing that Aiden O'Connell off the play action, you don't get faked out by the play action, wants to go to his intended target in the flat. And then it's the closing speed to make that play. Then the pass breakup, as I mentioned, just good awareness late in that play after you got beat to rip that football away. And those are all highly disruptive plays. Now, Nick Martin, in one of those sequences, did over pursue. He shot the necessary gap. It looked as though he was in a position to make a play, and he missed another tackle. But he made the necessary adjustments that I wanted to see from week 1 of the preseason to week 2 of the preseason, and that's what you want to see from your young players. Are there strides in the development? Are they making improvements? Are they correcting their mistakes? And you see that Nick Martin has a boatload of potential for this Niners defense, and you see why San Francisco is very high on him, taking him in the 3rd round, when a lot of other draft experts and teams probably had him 4th round, 5th round on their big boards. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on the 49ers Report. We do it all, man. We talk about a signing, we talk about a potential trade, and then we do some film breakdown. If you liked what you saw, lock us in. Let's go.